A team sport coach manages fatigue across a chaotic 50-game season. For an individual athlete, success might come down to just 4 days of competition. The vast stretches of empty time between those events dictate how the program is built. This sparse schedule creates a unique architectural opportunity for the strength and conditioning coach. They can construct an extended macro cycle, an annual training plan that allows for a much longer, deliberately paced build-up period before each event. All of those months of preparation are dedicated to producing a singular, extreme physical expression. The coach has to engineer a timeline where the athlete peaks optimally for the exact day of the meet. Designing a program for this kind of competitor is a complex engineering problem. It requires dedicating entire blocks of time to deeply developing specific, isolated physiological adaptations. The coach has to calculate precise variables over months. They must balance different load models, highly individualize the ratio of general to specific strength, and synchronize the physical peak with the athlete's psychological state. An appropriately arranged macro cycle allows an individual athlete to peak multiple times over a competitive season without their body breaking down. Because there is so much time between competitions, coaches can dedicate 4 to 6 full weeks to developing just a single fitness component at a time. This chart shows how that time is structured using the linear or traditional periodization model. This model is highly effective for novices or athletes currently in their general preparatory phase. The macro cycle starts with high training volume and low intensity. The athlete is doing a lot of work, but the loads aren't close to their maximum capacity. Over time, the coach makes inverse changes to these variables. As the competition approaches, the volume steadily drops off while the intensity climbs. This crossover dictates a clear physiological progression. The athlete spends the first block building muscle mass in a hypertrophy phase, and then transitions into building raw strength. Right before the meet, as the volume bottoms out and intensity hits its absolute peak, the training shifts to expressing that strength as power, and finally, speed. While linear periodization builds a crucial physiological base, its gradual nature can fail to provide the concentrated stimulus required by elite, advanced athletes to push past their physical plateaus. For elite competitors, like advanced Olympic weightlifters or track and field stars, the smooth progression of a linear model stops provoking new physiological adaptations. To solve this, researcher Yuri Verkhoshansky developed an advanced alternative, conjugate or block periodization. Instead of blending variables over months, block periodization deploys highly concentrated training loads to target specific motor abilities one at a time. The model alternates between 2 phases. It starts with accumulation blocks, which use limited volume to support foundational motor abilities and certain strength qualities. Next come the restitution blocks. Here, the focus shifts to developing specific, highly technical motor qualities, while doing just enough to maintain the baseline strength built in the previous phase. By rapidly alternating between accumulation and restitution, the coach continuously shocks the elite athlete's system, preventing stagnation over a long macro cycle. Even within advanced block architectures, the goal is extreme individualization based on unique physiology and specific event demands. Take elite Olympic throwers. The rotational tension and precise release required here cannot be developed just by adding more weight to a barbell. Coach Anatoly Bondarchuk's application of block periodization argues that building general strength is not always the answer for advanced athletes. This chart compares 2 distinct athlete load profiles to illustrate the difference between general strength, like a standard squat, and special strength, which are training loads that strictly mimic the exact competitive movement. Profile A represents an athlete with immense general strength, but poor technique. For them, the formula dictates spending 70% of their time strictly on special strength and technique. Profile B represents a weaker athlete. Their formula is completely inverted, requiring a much heavier focus on building base general strength. A periodization model acts as a targeted diagnostic tool that corrects the specific technical deficits of the individual athlete. This individualization must also adapt over time. A successful periodization model will dynamically evolve alongside an athlete's aging physiology across an entire career. We can see this in the training data of the world's most successful female cross-country skier. In her early elite career, her rapid performance improvements were driven by block periodization. She utilized highly concentrated high-intensity training, or HIT, blocks. These featured clusters of 8 to 13 HIT sessions crammed into a window of just 7 to 11 days. But in the later stages of her career, she made a deliberate transition away from the block model and went back toward a traditional, or trad, model. The physiological reasoning is clear in the data. The trad model gave her a higher overall training volume, but it provided a much safer, gradual progression of intensity leading up to the competition phase. Mathematically plotting physical volume and intensity only accounts for half of the competitive equation. When you strip away the team, you introduce a final variable unique to individual athletes, the sense of absolute isolation. Research shows that participants in individual sports suffer from vastly higher levels of anxiety before, during, and after a competition than team sport athletes. The exposure is magnified when competing alone. High anxiety causes critical breakdowns in highly tuned technique. A boxer might become clumsy or lean too far forward, undoing their physical conditioning. This creates a collision course on the macrocycle timeline. Exactly as the athlete reaches peak condition, they hit maximum psychological vulnerability. During the planned taper period, the coach removes physical fatigue. That sudden lack of training allows psychological stress to take over. To counter this, coaches purposefully integrate psychological skills training directly into the physical macrocycle. They build psychological armor using the 4 C's: concentration, confidence, control, and commitment. Integrating these 4 pillars provides the framework needed to manage the severe physical and mental stressors that culminate on meet day. Effective periodization for the individual athlete synchronizes physiological accumulation, specialized technique, and unshakable psychological control into a single performance.